And so what we're talking about today is Google Voice. And what Google Voice does is it allows you to set up sort of a secret phone number that is not your real phone number. And what's nice about this is, one, you can talk on the phone over your headset at your computer. So I don't have to do one of these and then try and type sideways and all this stuff, right? But you can also use Google Voice to send text messages also from your computer or from your cell phone. Now, this is by no means required. This is just a kind of an added bonus. I know Matt Mooney and I know John Beck in CIS and a handful of others use this already with their classes. For me, and I see a lot of others in here are also adjuncts, I don't feel we have to do this. This isn't required at any level. I feel like for full-time faculty, especially working at home, this is a really nice way to provide students kind of phone support, but not giving out your personal cell phone number, right? So I'll share a link with you guys, which will cover some of this stuff. And I'll send it out to you via email as well. Here. Okay. So this website here, this is just an article. There's a ton of tutorials on Google Voice, and I'll walk you through it. This is probably the simplest setup you'll ever experience in your life, because all we're doing is literally choosing a phone number. That's it. And then you're done. So you have to be logged in with your personal Gmail account. If you don't have one, you can go to gmail.google.com and just make a email address. Your Google Voice number is connected to your Gmail account, but if you give a student your Google Voice phone number, there's no way for them to find your personal Gmail. So you don't need to worry about that. They're two separate things. And what you do is you literally go to voice.google.com, and I've already chosen it, and that's why I'm showing you this particular website. So I can't show you this from, wow, well, let me zoom in. There it goes. But this screen here, when you first go to voice.google.com, it's going to ask you to choose a phone number. So you type in your area code, and it'll give you a list of phone numbers. The area code doesn't even matter. So it can be a phone number from a different area. It really doesn't matter at all. You choose a number. So you just select one of these phone numbers to use, and then you need to verify your account. So what it's going to do is you have to type in a phone number. It doesn't have to be a cell phone. So if you don't have a cell phone, that's fine. But you type in your personal number, so your personal cell phone or landline, and it'll either call you or text you a verification code. So you type in the phone number, you hit send code, and then you come back, it'll have a link, and you come back to the same screen and you type in the verification code that either texts you or you get on the phone number, and then you're done. That's it. It's a one-time setup. So let me show you what the actual voice looks like. So I'm going to voice.google.com, and this is logging with my personal. So again, please no screenshots or anything from this point on. And this is the setup. This is the entire screen. On the left side, you've got texting, and on the right side, you've got calling. Up in this upper corner here this is my Google Voice number. So I can give this to students, I can give this to other faculty, and I can choose to either answer it on my phone or I can just use it on my headset while I'm calling. So it's a really nice way. I can call right from here. So I would just type in whatever phone number I want to call, and then I could just hit call and I'd make a phone call right over the phone or right over my headset on the computer. If a student texts you a text message to this number, you can have it set up to go to your email, but it'll also just show up over here on the left side, and then I can respond right here. I use this for Craigslist, which is why you see a bunch of things about refrigerators over here on the side. So it's a great use for, if you're just selling things on Craigslist or selling things on Facebook, right? And then if you decide that you don't want to use this number anymore, so you can just change it every semester, or you can use it for a short period of time and just change it. And if you want to change your number, up in the upper right-hand corner is a gear. I can hit the gear, and then this is my current phone number, and I just hit change. And then it's going to let me type in, I hit change here, and then I say want a new number. I type in the area code again, and then it'll give me a list of numbers to choose from. And as long as you do it from your personal account, it's completely free. And you can call anywhere in the US. So this won't work for our international students. That's not going to work out too well. But that's not usually a problem.
Can we receive text from international students or nothing international?
It won't work if they're usually when international students come here, they're using a locally registered phone. So as long as they're using a locally registered phone, it's fine. But if they're actually in Sweden using a Swedish phone, it won't work that way. But again, I would just have that student use Canvas or email or something, and Zoom. That's a better way to go there. So a couple caveats I want to talk about. Any other questions before we dive into some other little things here?
Yeah, because I set my GoogleVoice up quite a while ago, and I was confused. What you said is basically it's only with their personal Gmail. I tried to set it up, and my account goes straight into Pipeline, and when I open Chrome, and it wouldn't let me open it up, and I had to type in I set it up with a fake Gmail because I didn't know that people wouldn't know my real email. So it's good to know. There's no way to link to my email, and it says our school doesn't have it set up, so we can't set it up through our pipeline for students.
You can't set it up through your pipeline because Google charges a fee for every Google Voice number in a G Suite account. So if we set it up through Campus, they charge Campus. But if you set it up through a personal account, it's free. That's the only reason.
That makes sense. I just wanted one that I could give to students. And then can you have another one that you use if you hand to family and friends? Or do you only have one at a time?
You can only have one voice number per cell account or per Google account.
Per Google account. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So once you have you give someone this number, that's all it is a phone number, right? So there's nothing that they can do to get your personal information or anything from that. But yeah, if you want to set up a separate Gmail account to be extra secure, feel free to do that. You can choose the area code. Like I said, the area code really doesn't matter because long distance calling really isn't a thing anymore. So that's kind of how to use it in the browser. So if I click on any one of these text messages, right, I can literally just type in the computer in the browser. And this all works best in Chrome because it's a Google product. So that's all there is to it. You can even get your voicemail messages from here. So you don't need to connect it to a cell phone at all. So here's my caveat to all of this, right? So the big question is about FERPA standards, especially when we're talking about using our personal stuff, right? So I was telling you, don't use your personal email. In this scenario, you're not using a personal email. It's okay under FERPA for us to talk to students on our cell phones, whether that's a Google Voice number or a personal line or a City College landline. That doesn't matter because it's not in writing. So we know that we're talking to that student, right? So the number doesn't matter. However, when you're texting a student, I would advise you to be very careful because any device that you're using to communicate with students, they would have, if there was an issue and there was an investigation, they have access to everything on your device, including your personal email and personal text messages, right? So that's just an in general kind of like, that's why I don't prefer texting with my students, because I want to keep my personal life separate from my teaching life, right?
Can I jump in then? Because I use the teacher app for Canvas through my phone, and I answer emails and stuff through my phone, does that mean that now all the information in my phone is open to being available when it's just Canvas? It happens to be on the mobile app.
No, not if it's the mobile app, but if you had things going to your if you like, I know some faculty forward their email to their personal email, that's not okay. Accessing the Canvas app through here is fine, right?
But then if you're saying that with Google Voice text, that opens them up to see everything on my phone, why would the Canvas app not?
If you're forwarding it to your phone.
You can call from your phone from Google Voice too, like
yes,
through.
But you don't have to.
So you're suggesting,
but can I use Google Voice, this one?
Yes.
On my phone to call or text, and that doesn't open up my whole phone? Or is it call no, but text yes, if it's the Google text?
Calling is completely fine. If you're like here, if I have the text messages in the browser, I'm okay, right? If I'm forwarding these text messages to my personal account, it opens it up there that if you were being investigated for some reason, they could subpoena your phone.
Okay, I'm not talking about a personal account, but if I text someone with my Google Voice app,
yep,
those texts appear in my Google Voice app. So
right.
The texts are here, not in my browser, but on my phone, but they're not mixed with my personal text numbers, but they are on my Google Voice app.
Right. So you should be fine.
As long as they stay in the Google Voice app,
right.
That's okay, even if they're texts.
Right. Just don't mix it with your personal stuff.
Okay.
Don't forward it to your personal phone number.
Okay, I have a question, Robert.
Mm-hmm.
How do we not forward it to our number? How do we just keep it in somewhere else?
You have to turn that on. So everything I showed you, you're good. If you want to use it on your phone, I don't have it set up to share my screen super easy right now, but I could. But there is a app called Google Voice right there that you can download on your phone, and that just accesses the same information, but it's separate from your text messaging. So if you download the Google Voice app, whether you're on an iPhone or Android, you can log into that account and see all the messages and things there and make phone calls through there.
Okay, but not on my own messages. Not on my phone, not on my personal messages.
Right, exactly.
Great.
Jana, I don't have, well, I think that was Jana. I think she just left though, but I don't have 2 devices linked to my account.
Oh, I'm here. I saw 2 devices on some screen you were on, so.
It's just the web and this is my cell phone.
Oh, see, it says my devices and then it says 2 devices. So, so it counts the web.
Yeah, it just counts the browser as a device.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. And you see down here under messages, I have this turned off. So I've got nothing sending to my actual personal device. You have to set up your personal device so you can set up the account, and then you're good. You're all done.
Okay.
Yeah. I just like to toss that out there because, we haven't had that happen on campus, but that's a potential. That if there was an ongoing investigation of a student and then your device is linked to messages from that student, it doesn't even necessarily be your fault, right? It could just be, so it's just being aware that using our personal devices can open that up to being subpoenaed for investigations if needed. Again, we haven't heard that happening on our campus ever, but we just like to make sure everyone's aware of that. And then since this is just a phone number, right? This is my phone number. I just put this in my syllabus. I put it anywhere I want students to have access to my phone number. You can also save it and not put it in your syllabus. And if a student is having problems with Zoom or something, you can give them this number so they can call you, and then you can help them in various ways. But literally, that's all there is, because it's just setting up a phone number.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah.
So you recommend, probably for safety, going through the browser instead of your own cell phone?
If you're using it with students, for sure. Yeah. like I said, for myself, I don't use this with students. I use it for Craigslist mostly or for phone calls. So I have it set up on my phone. But it's up to you.
But then I just want to be clear. So the browser is safe, but if on the phone, I am not using if I don't on the settings forward it to my device, then if I open the app, right, the actual app, and I go from my app into my app, and from there I text and whatever, it's as if it was the browser. It's just not mixing with my phone calls nor with my text.
Exactly.
So I can answer on the fly. The only reason for a text is to answer on the fly. If on my computer, I might as well be emailing. So,
as long as you're keeping it in the voice app and not forwarding those messages over. Again, I'm not a expert in the law. That's just how we understand it. And like I said, we have never even had that happen on campus. So I wouldn't worry about it too much. We just like to let people be aware.
Rob, I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry I was a few minutes late to the meeting, but did you set up Google Voice on through Google Chrome on your computer? Like, would you recommend that, or should I do it on my Google Pixel device?
I would set it up in the browser first. And in case you weren't here for that part, you want to make sure you can only set it up with your personal email address. You can't set it up with Pipeline. It has to be a personal account.
Got it.
But it literally takes 2 seconds to do. Let me make sure I put that link in here too. That's the link to those instructions that I was showing you guys earlier. But there's really no options. When you go to that website, it's the most foolproof thing. Students can use this too, right? They just have to use it with a personal account. So if they want to talk to other students and not give out their personal phone number, really great. Really good for dating apps. Not that I'm doing that kind of thing. Right? I'm happily married, but it's when I'm talking to students, it's this is a great way to protect yourself, right? Here's a way to make extra phone numbers, and you can just change the phone number at any time.
There's an option there for payments in the settings. So there is a chance that you would be charged, in which case, what would it be?
It's for international calls. So just don't set up a payment method and you're good. The charging is only if you're calling international. So when someone calls me, whether it's a student or a collector's call or whatever else, since it comes through the Google Voice app, it actually rings differently, and you see it as it works with the normal cell phone, so you'll see the number and stuff come up. But at least on the Pixel, which is really nice, I can see it shows up as Google Voice. So when it rings, it actually turns your screen green like Google Voice, and then I can just choose to answer or not. I don't answer my phone 90% of the time unless I see that person's name and I know who it is, and I just let it go to voicemail and go that way. And that's true just in my everyday life.
So when we call with this number or text with this number, does it say our name though? I mean, does it produce a caller ID with whatever name we gave that account?
Yep. It'll display the name that's on the account. Yeah. Most of the time, at least for Craigslist, they're texting me anyway. People are more comfortable with texting, especially with strangers, than they are with calling. So hasn't been an issue yet.
That's great.
Any other questions, concerns? And like I said, there's nothing here saying this is what you have to do. You don't have to use this at all. It's just letting you know this is an option and how to set it up. We've had a lot of people who wanted to do this, and we've got a lot of people asking that it's because we can't set it up through Pipeline. So I just wanted to kind of go through the process. And again, if you want to keep it extra secure, just make yourself a separate Gmail account like Diana did.
Well, I have a separate Gmail account that I set up because some of the things I teach is through social media and things like that. And so I just want to have something separate from my real life when I teach. And so to that account, I added this Google Voice. So it's kind of fake teaching stuff.
Your
so
little
that
demo
works.
account. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's a great thing to have.
Exactly.
I think it's
Rob, I
going to
have
be. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, go ahead. No, go ahead.
I just think it's going to be faster for the students. You know, sometimes with email, it takes like for one communication to answer the email is it takes a lot of time. So I think maybe with the application might be faster, you know, like a real text or real call. Even if I don't answer, just getting the text or just the call and getting back to the students is faster than I have had one student wanting to know something before the test. And by the time that I answered the email, and then that person answered the email, and I answered the email, it went one day.
Yep. Yeah, and
So
that's, I mean, the other thing to keep in mind is when you start adding this stuff to your phone, unless you use Do Not Disturb, right? It's going to ring on your phone. So if you don't want to get student phone calls at 11 o'clock at night either, another reason I
Well,
recommend just using it on the browser, but it's really up to you. But yeah, I mean, that's why I'm showing it to you,
Rob,
because for some people using a phone call is a lot smoother. And this is a way, especially for us as adjuncts, to protect our personal number that the school is not paying for, right? So this gives us a way to do that without having to change my cell phone number. Yes, Andrine.
yeah, that was one question of, are you, those that have used it, or Rob, those that you know who have used it, are they getting a lot of text where it's a little bit more difficult to manage? Do you know?
Not that I know of. Yeah, John Beck has been using it for a couple of years now, and he's full time. He uses it with all of his students, and he says he's really tech savvy, right? So he's got it all set up on Do Not Disturb, so it only rings between certain times. But basically, he loves it because students will text him or call him, and if he's just free, he just answers the phone, right? So it creates that more instantaneous, and students are always surprised when he picks up the phone. He's like, if I'm not doing anything, I'm going to pick up the phone for you. But he's also full time, right? We have other things that we're doing. So for me, email is better. Texting is okay. But like I said, for me, it's more of a backup for students. But depending on the discipline that you're teaching, depending on your schedule, it might work for you to have that. If you try it out and you don't like it, you just change your Google Voice number and don't give it out again. Right? So it's like no fuss, no muss. You can try it out. If it goes crazy, you just shut it down.
Actually, I have a question to make sure it's kosher, because basically yesterday I was thinking there's always like you reach out with email, you reach out through Canvas, you reach out through all these ways, but there's some students that just don't reply. That system doesn't work for them. Some kids just, especially the younger ones who come out of school, they're not using email, right? And it's hard to get them to check. So I thought maybe as a last minute resource, when I really can't reach someone, I could try to text them and see if they respond to a text. And so my question is, so I wouldn't give it to the whole class, but I would try to reach out to those cases where your really email isn't arriving, right? And so then if I do that, can I use their number, like from the roster? Like, is that okay? Because it's their personal number. It's me from Google Text, but it's their personal number I'm texting to, right? Where else would I be texting them to?
Yeah, no, that's fine. But I would call them. If you're going to do that, if you're going to use the number off the roster, I would call them, not text, to verify that it's actually their number and not their parents' number. We just don't know. So a voice call, it doesn't matter. A text is a record, right? So if you're saying, hey, you're not showing up to class, you're not training your work, and their parent gets that, that's not okay. Okay. Now, if a student gives you their number, that's a whole different story, right? In my class, what I do, this is a little bit of a side note. Let me check that chat that popped up. Cool. Yeah, feel free to trickle off if you want. This is all recording. I have an assignment in my class, which is a sample assignment for my week 0. And I ask them to tell me the best way to contact them. Okay. This is a trick question. I only contact my students one way, through Canvas. But I had a student today give me her cell phone number and saying, this is the best way to contact me. I'm like, cool. So now I have that as a backup, just what you're talking about, Diana. So if if I can't get a hold of her, I have her cell number. She's basically given me permission to contact her that way. But inside of Canvas, this is why I asked this question to my students, is I use it as an opener to remind students that they can come into their settings in Canvas profile and add a contact method. They can add their personal email address here, and they can also add their cell phone number here. So they can add their personal cell phone number, and all notifications from Canvas will be text to them instead of emailed to them. And that's on students to set up. And so
there's no issue then with okay, because it says just writing in Canvas, and Canvas is sending it to their text. So in the way we're not,
they're choosing it, not us.
Okay, because that makes sense to me. Because really, I see people like mails come and go, and they just don't read them, but they do read all their texts.
So bringing up some interaction that helps you let students know that they can do this for themselves. I have a student who's a UCSD student, and so he wants to use his UCSD email. This is how he forwards his email to there. We can't do this. We have, as a faculty, we have to go through Pipeline. We have to go through Canvas. Either one of those is fine. So I don't want to forward this out to my personal email address as an employee of the college.
Can you show me again how to get here so I can show students?
You just go to your account in Canvas and go to settings. And that's what this screen is.
Yeah, but there's lots of settings, but where does this one?
Contact method.
Contact method, I see.
Yep. And so they can add, Instagram, Twitter, whatever they want to add over here.
You just brought up something there when you mentioned about the cell phones and such, the emails. There's a student, when I email using the email address in the class roster. And so whenever I do that, she responds by reply. But whenever she sends me an email, I get the email from an address that is totally different name and everything, but it's a pipeline email. She has a pipeline email that I send it to her on, and she replies. When she initiates an email exchange, it's from another pipeline email address. What's that about?
Two thoughts. She either changed her name at some point inside of Pipeline, or she's also using a shared laptop with a sibling or a roommate or something. That's my two thoughts on that. Yeah. But yeah, we should always that's what's nice about using Canvas to send out those messages, is it's going to their registered Pipeline email address. If they're emailing you, you can reply, but if it's anything to do with grades or missing homework or anything like that, you want to make sure it's only going to their actual Pipeline address. Jana, you had a question or comment?
I do have a question. You mentioned the do not disturb hours.
Mm-hmm.
How does one set those up?
That is on your phone, and that's different on every phone.
Oh, okay.
That's just so it blocks any calls or messages coming through between certain hours.
Yeah, so it's blocking everybody's, not just Google Voice.
Right. And then you can usually set up favorites so you can allow certain numbers to go through. So like I have 6 people in my life that can text me or call me any time of the day. Everyone else, it's 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. My phone doesn't ring.
Okay, thanks.
That's a good life thing to do anyway. Cool. Anything else? All right, I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording.